G'day guys. Well, I have finally managed to get out and actually test my DJI tracker system. And I guess the thing that everyone's wondering is, how did it go? What was the end result? And well, the good news is the tracker works. But to be honest, I kind of knew it would. This is all done with the MFD Crossfire link. It was a given that the tracker would work, and it has. The question is, what were the results? Now, I've got to be honest here. So, the end results have left me feeling very, very disappointed. But it's also raised a very big question mark for me. And that is, are my goggles faulty or not? Because there were some fundamental problems. Now, for those of you who followed the channel, one of the issues I've had with the DJI goggles from day one, I posted up a video in which I raised the problem with DJI and the fact that it locks up hard, and when it dies, it's gone and just doesn't come back. And I haven't really flown with them because every time I've gone out, I've had similar issues. But today I went out with the tracker, and part of building this tracker has been about trying to improve object penetration because I was so disappointed with how my performance worked. And quite simply at this point, I'm left with a conundrum. Are these faulty, or is DJI just rubbish? And I don't really know what the answer is at the moment. I'm going to get, and it's the only solution I have to this, is to get a friend of mine, Alex, who has some DJI goggles, and he swears by them, thinks they're fantastic. And I want to conduct exactly the same test that I did today with his goggles to say what's the outcome, and then we'll swap over and kind of do a goggle by goggle comparison. Now, the issue around this, I've got a video which I'm going to show you some details of. Now, it's worth noting, my Orcas, which are one half of the video, is running a little Clearview goggle module. Two of these True RC, I'm not sure which version they are, Singularity style, something like that. Basic antennas. The tracker was running the quad array of directional antennas. Now, 8 dBi gain on that, so you're talking sort of 2 dBi versus 8 dBi. Theoretically, I should get better object penetration with the tracker pointing at the aircraft just by the very nature that there's 8 dBi gain. The results were not so good. Now, what I did is I essentially flew my aircraft around, and I was intentionally dropping below a line of trees. I was about 500 to 700 meters away, and I was dropping behind the line of trees to say, how do things break up? Now, in this particular area, it's a very good area to test, simply because I'm able to follow a straight line with relatively low objects in front of me, so if I do lose signal, it's a gentle climb with the aircraft, problem goes away. Well, consistently, over and over again, I was able to take the same path, and 1 out of every 4 times I did the path, the DJI system would simply freeze, and it would take about 40 odd seconds before I had a picture again. The analog, on the other hand, I would get some noise through and continue. So, the question is why? Why does this happen? Now, there's clearly a correlation in this to the amount of time the signal is lost for. And I believe what happens is that as soon as the DJI signal goes beyond a certain amount of latency, or a delay in getting the signal back, boom, and it hard fails. It effectively desyncs. The net result, it takes time to re-establish. Why it takes 40 seconds, I don't know, because quite simply, 40 seconds of no visual, full stop, it's a deal breaker for me. I can't fly with that. Whereas the analog just kind of punched through and off I went, it was fine. So I'm almost 100% certain that the issue here is a DJI latency issue in probably the style in which I fly. Now, to back this up, what I would say is I did a couple of other tests where I headed out a kilometer and I had perfect signal. As long as I was in good line of sight, the DJI system worked beautifully. As soon as I drop behind any objects or do anything like that which involves proximity stuff, it just doesn't work. So, you know, I really haven't wanted this to be a DJI bashing video, because it's not. You know, the truth is, if I'm actually flying, by doing what I'm doing, I'm actually flying outside the specifications of what the system's built for. So it's hardly like I can turn around and go to DJI and say, oh, your goggles are terrible. The problem is, other people on the internet seem to be getting better results. And quite simply, I don't understand why. And there's one of two things. Either the digital protocol simply doesn't handle noise very well, and for my style of flying ain't gonna ever do what I want, or my goggles are faulty. I don't know. You know, so hopefully I'll manage a session with Alex in due course and we can actually test and do a DJI to DJI comparison. Because if my goggles keep breaking up, then it becomes clear. And obviously if his ones never break up, you know, it starts to tell a story, doesn't it? Now, the next bit I'm going to do is show you the video that I had. And essentially I've got two transmitters. I've got an analog and a digital running on the aircraft. It's a Zod Talon, the Mini, the Nano Talon, which is doing the work. And I have the analog going to that, and I have the digital going to that. And they both recorded side by side, each one on the DVR, so we can kind of get a true comparison. I would make a serious point here, and I don't want to have people turning around and saying, oh, you faked results. Now, the problem that I found on the DJI system is if you desync, the DVR stops recording. So I had a mate of mine looking in the DJI goggles, and when the signal desynced, it basically boom, waited. As soon as it came back, he pressed record again. What I've done for the purpose of the video, just to avoid there being a blank area, I've just done some artificial static for the 40 odd seconds from the point at which it failed to the point at which it came back. Now, the reality is what the DJI system does is it actually shows you a picture of a quadcopter in the goggles. But they don't record that, because as soon as the signal stops, boom, all the DVR turns off. But essentially we've gone from stop to within give or take a second or two, as fast as Byron could click the record button again on the other end to start recording, is kind of what that gap is, which is roughly 40 odd seconds of complete blackout. Now, I guess the big question here is, well, if it is my goggles, what do I do? Because it's been faulty from day one. But is it faulty? Is it still something that DJI would say, actually, this is within the specifications of what they advertise to fly and so tough? I don't know. It's, you know, and let's add to it. I've got this analog mod. Now, the problems I've had existed before I did the analog mod, so I know there's nothing that I've done with the analog mod. I could reverse it and add it within minutes. But I can be damn sure that DJI would probably turn around and say, oh no, we're not going to honour a warranty or anything. So I'll be pretty gutted if it turns out that actually I've had dodgy goggles from day one. That would be a real shame, because quite simply I'm not about to spend the money on another pair right now. Not on an off chance. I would need conclusive proof that it was actually the goggles that were the problem rather than just the digital system. And I guess maybe for those, you know, if you're flying in a certain style, maybe it works for you. But right now, the only evidence I have pre this test is that DJI doesn't work for me. I don't know. I'd love to just get some, you know, maybe you guys can get out if you've got both. Do a similar test to what I've done, because I'm so inconclusive and I just don't have the answer for it right now. Anyway guys, enjoy the video. It's not particularly long. It will show you just a brief flight of both things comparatively, and you can kind of get a sense of the quality between the two systems. Just bear in mind that these were running on the dipoles. These were running on a tracker with 8 dBi. Sorry, not dipoles, are they helicals? Whatever they are. Maybe singularities, I don't know. And this was obviously on the digital with the tracker and everything pointing with 8 dBi straight at the airframe. We'll have to wait and see. Cheers guys. the DJI signal has just suddenly gone utterly dead. Now, as I said earlier, I have completely faked the static that is going on there, because at the time all we had was a quadcopter picture of the DJI kind of boot up logo almost showing to us. So rather than just show you a black screen because it didn't record anything, I've shown something a bit more indicative of what happened. And you can see this is going on for a rather long time. It's completely impossible to recover from that without a return to home. If I was on a quad or a wing, I almost certainly would have hit the deck. It's enough of a problem to make me simply not use it. Oh, and there we have it. It's back and in beautiful, all working again. Strange one.